Bro. Bruh. Good afternoon, freedom lovers. Oh man. How was the weekend for everyone? Where did I... Oh, damn it. I left my tea downstairs. Be right back. Yeah, I muted myself to avoid you listening a ton of noise with me running down the stairs. Sorry about that. Yeah, I left my tea downstairs in the kitchen because I said I should probably make some tea before the streams begins. And instead, well, I made some tea. The tea was downstairs. Oh. Right. Yeah, how was the weekend for everyone? Mine was absolutely great. Yeah, it's always good to get some drink before the stream begins. I'm on my second tea of the afternoon. Yeah. I was actually planning to stream sometime during the weekend, but then I started playing Master of Orion and realized after like 3 or 4 hours probably that I didn't start the stream. Oh, I'm sorry, Georges. Oh, well, sorry that you got influenza, but great that you're feeling so much better. That's great. Yeah, it's... Honestly, I've been incredibly lucky for the entire duration of the pandemic. I haven't had anything, like knocking on wood, I'm not gonna get anything now. I would be so disappointed. But the overall luck that I had for the entire for the last 2 years, basically, not getting anything. Or at least if I got anything, it was asymptomatic, in which case, yay me. Yeah, no. It's a very, yeah, absolutely. Do not recommend. Do not want. Yeah, I managed to get all my vaccine shots and the booster. Even the booster shot, I got it like at least 2 to 3 weeks earlier than I was supposed to. But yeah. Oh, thank you, William Blado. Honestly, I'm not really worth of being the favorite of anybody. Well. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, if people want to meet the GTK developers, they should join Matrix and the Matrix GNOME home server and join the GTK channel. You can also join on IRC if you go on irc.gnome.org and then join the GTK channel. You'll get to meet us, whether you like it or not. Otherwise, you can just watch our presentations at GUADEC and other conferences. That reminds me that I'm going to do a presentation at LCA about GTK. Sadly, I'm not going to do a presentation at LCA in person. LCA, for those who don't know it, is linux.conf.au conference that usually held in Australia or New Zealand around January and February. I've been to a couple of those and they are awesome. They're great conferences. Hopefully when the world reopens a little bit more, we're gonna go back and do in-person conferences. And if you manage to find a spot there, I highly recommend it. It's a great conference, managed really wonderfully, and it's also really fun. But yeah, on Saturday morning European time, it's gonna be a little bit later for everyone else. I'm going to give a presentation about GTK4 and what changed over the past year after the GTK4 release. I'm gonna talk about documentation. I'm gonna talk about the toolkit. I'm gonna talk about libadwaita, and yeah, hopefully it's gonna be fun. I still need to tweak the slide deck, but it was really good to be selected for the presentation for the conference. It's always good fun. Alright, so should we move? Yeah, again, Georgios, I strongly recommend it. It's a good conference. There's a lot of lots of interesting people there, and also the talks are usually fairly high quality. So I'm sure a bunch of people that are involved in GNOME and window management and Wayland compositors know the presentation done by Daniel Stone a few years ago about Wayland and X. That's the classic one. What are the differences between what the history of X and the differences? That was held at LCA. I was in the audience. You can hear my very loud and distinctive laugh at some point. But yeah, that is the caliber of presentations that are usually available at LCA. It's a very good conference. Okay. So today I want to go back to the developer documentation, but I was going to add a couple of things from Adwaita into the existing structure, so that we don't just do beginner's tutorial for GTK users, and instead we do a proper tutorial for GNOME developers, for people that are coming to GNOME for the first time and want to start documenting, writing applications for GNOME. So let's switch to my desktop. And let's see, this is the libadwaita API reference. And there are a bunch of good containers and widgets there. Like, I already selected the carousel and the leaflet. And I'm probably gonna add also the toast overlay. Well, no, toast. Yeah. So the AI components are here, and like information progressive disclosure would be a good place to put toast overlay. And also, yeah, the carousel could be an interesting thing to add to there. It's not really an information kind of thing. It would be more of a presentational element, since it just displays a bunch of information there, but you're not really supposed to interact with the elements of the carousel except for viewing things. So maybe not. And the leaflet is essentially like a box and a stack, so it would go into the layout area. But also we have to modify the application window example to use Adwaita application instead of using GTK application, which could be interesting. And probably Adwaita application as well. And maybe add some example on how to set up the state tracker for the style. Yeah, there are a couple of things that basically I want to add, mostly because the entire exercise is not to have the this to be a GTK getting started documentation. It should be a GNOME getting started. And maybe we should start moving a bunch of stuff from the generic tutorials into here, or at least at least adapting them. Like for instance, menus and actions should go into here, inside the UI components, or at least connect them so that people can go from here to here. Yeah, there are a bunch of documentations that are not really tutorials. What is this? The pre and post condition are actually programming guideline. I go here probably. Even though the programming guideline are not just C related. Yeah, one of the main challenges of redoing the developer documentation website is we do have a bunch of documentation in various places on the old developer documentation website. We had guidelines and tutorials and stuff like that. Once I removed the old stuff, the stuff that was written for GNOME 2, and we still strung along, which, yeah, it was a thing. Once we removed that, there was still a fair chunk of good content there, but it was entirely not disorganized, because disorganization implies a certain active disregard for organization. It was unorganized. It was organically dumped into the website. It wasn't actively editorialized. There was no active component of how do we structure this stuff. It was mostly let's shove it in there, it's fine. People will find stuff. And surprise, surprise, they didn't find the stuff. So they came back saying, oh, the GNOME documentation sucks. And it's not entirely correct. The GNOME documentation doesn't really suck. It's just that you can find anything. So the organization sucks. Okay, so let's start from tutorials, beginners. Yeah, let's go back to the window. And instead of using GTK, minimal new application, a window with a title. And then we go here, and we, instead of doing this, we go to libadwaita, and we include the editor there. And then we go like this, and we do okay. Let's go back and see application window, the constructor, that's a GTK application, perfect. We set the title, and we set GTK window present, that's fine. This is fine, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Okay, this one should take care of everything. And then we do the same for Python. We to acquire the version for GTK. And then do something else. This one should do the trick. Yeah, instead of setting child, we set content. And then we go here and we add we should probably also add here the application, since we actually used the name. I mean, it's always possible to go from adwaita application to G application because the somebody's not using the URL mapping. Somebody's not using the URL mapping, so you don't get automatic linking to other namespaces. I see. If yeah, or it's a bug. It's entirely possible it's a bug. Also, we should probably have a short name for the libadwaita documentation, like libadwaita.gnome.org. Right. Yeah, this is a small change, but it's probably going to be useful for let's see. Yeah, we don't even need to include GTK because it's done automatically by libadwaita anyway. By the way, if you have any question whatsoever, just feel free to ask them in chat. I'm okay. It's not a problem for me to answer it. Okay, so let's commit this stuff before I forget about it. Okay. So let's go back to the tutorials, tuners, components. Yeah, let's add a leaflet here. Okay. And we go back to layouts. Leaflets. Yeah, after we introduce boxes and grids and stacks, leaflets are the next step because they behave like a box and a stack, depending on the size. And then yeah, we will probably look at the view switcher. Oh yeah, no, this is not important. Well, this is not important right now. And a tab view if we want to. Yeah, for instance, in the for instance here we should go with notebooks, but also after that we should go for tab view in case you want to do reorderable dynamic notebooks. So the main difference between a notebook and a tab view is that a notebook is typically a fixed set of tabs. Again, scaffolding. It's not really meant to be used dynamically. It's meant to be used if you know the number of tabs you're gonna get. It has the ability to add and remove pages and reorder them and stuff like that, but that was kind of a compromise. Ideally, we always wanted to have a separate widget that did that. One of the important things to understand about GTK is that it was written in a time where UIs were much more static, and what usually happened was adding functionality to existing widgets instead of creating other widgets or other containers or other structures that would provide additional functionality. It's one of the reasons why, for instance, the tree view is such a complicated mess. It is because we added a lot more functionality to what was supposedly a list view that didn't consume every single resource on your system if you added more than, I don't know, 100 widgets, 100 rows. But also it was a very, it has some tabular layout that you would expect from a tree-like structure with fixed columns. And then we added more, and then we added more, and then we added more, until people started asking, can I use a tree view to make a spreadsheet? And the answer was no, absolutely not. It's not the way, it's not how any of this works. And people are like, well, it has cells, it has a tabular layout. Why can't I use it as a spreadsheet? Why cannot you add spreadsheet functionality to preview? And I was like, no, it's already complicated as it is. and that was pretty bad. Oh, thank you for the follow, Imtiota. I've no idea. Sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing usernames. But yeah, that's the main issue here. It's the way things start out, and the more functionality is added to them, the less maintainable they become. But also people will start asking for functionality to be added instead of creating additional widgets, additional classes to do this. Hopefully for GTK 4 we kind of learned our lesson, / we redesigned the toolkit to do exactly that, to force you to create your own custom widgets with your own custom functionality instead of trying to twist existing widgetry into your use case. It's not that we hate you. Well, it's not that we hate application developers, but is that it doesn't help anybody if a class is so complicated that it becomes unmaintainable. And if also prevents us from fixing not just bugs, but like design issues. If every time we change any internal, it also breaks additional applications outside of our control. So that is kind of the tension between application maintainers and toolkit maintainers. You want to ensure that the toolkit is still maintainable with the small resources at our disposal, but also it doesn't break, and it's flexible enough so that it doesn't break whenever we have to change things. And it comes at a cost of having application developers do a little bit more custom work on their end. Again, also because, and this is kind of obvious, but we are not writing applications, we're writing the toolkit, and we don't know what your use cases are. So it's better to have more logic inside the application, and if a bunch of applications share the same kind of logic, then we can move it inside the toolkit if it's needed. That's how libadwaita came into being, after all. So, where were we? Yeah, let's go with stack. Yeah, we're gonna jump the grids because grids are basically boxes that grow into directions instead of just one. Stacks are kind of different, so let's jump into the stack widget. So we're gonna take the template, copy it, that's it, and then we're gonna create a new file, call it stack. Then we go here, we modify and we also add it here. Save it. Then we go into the stack and we paste it. Okay, so we need to go into the HIG. There is nothing about stacks. There are view switches, perhaps. interesting. There's a view switcher, which is kind of related to the stack, and same for tabs and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing about stacks here. Bye, Bentagil. Oh, by the way, the VOD will be up on my YouTube channel, usually after YouTube has run the DMCA checks and stuff like that, the copyright stuff on the entire thing, which takes forever. Especially if it finds some weird copyright thing inside the music or inside usually inside the background music, and I have to mute stuff. Whereas Twitch don't care. Well, no, Twitch cares. If I started streaming like a movie, they would come down on me basically instantaneously. I'm not an e-girl. I don't do hot tub streams. You don't want me doing hot tub streams as well. Yeah, the HIG doesn't have anything about stacks, so we can eliminate this link. And we are going to immediately only link the API reference for GTK stack. And we're gonna decide whether or not we are gonna add some stack switching or anything like that. So if we're gonna do something like that, okay, so a stack, yeah, a stack and a notebook are basically the same widget, except that a notebook also have a way to switch pages, whereas a stack is only done programmatically. GTK notebook is implemented as a GTK stack internally as well. So we could start from the description that is inside and yeah, we can specify the fact that a stack is only programmatically can only be manipulated programmatically and not by user, it's not under user control. If you want to have the user in charge is a little bit meh. It's not a great turn of phrase. You can use widgets like stack switcher or this is subject text, not markdown. Or yeah, no. Yeah, we're not gonna find anything here. Info let e user info visible yeah. Yeah, one thing that changed between GTK 3 and GTK 4 is that these days children of a GTK stack are not direct children of the stack. A GTK stack has a bunch of pages, and each page is its own object, and each page has a widget. Of course, the child widget you add gets parented straight to the stack, but the page that wraps it contains all the state, all the metadata associated with the child. So the page name and the page icon and whatever else. Those used to be container properties in GTK 3, but since we removed container properties because they were terrible. Well, they were terrible for a variety of reasons. One of them was they depended on GTK container, which we don't have anymore. And also they essentially re-implemented the GObject property mechanism, but not part of GObject, part of another of GTK container. And they were not introspectable. They were not. They had to be documented separately because they were not. They were not exposed at GObject level. You had to know GTK that the object you were inspecting was a GTK container, and which means linking against GTK. And once you have that, then you have to do a bunch of weird contortions to understand what a container property can do. So instead of all that mess, they just removed that and added objects that exist only as long as a child is parented to a specific widget. So instead of adding a child to the stack, you add a child to the page, which is then added to the stack. And then when you set the property, you set the property on the page instead of setting it on the combination of container plus child. It's the same mechanism we use for layout properties. Layout properties were container properties in GTK 3, and then we moved them out of container and into ancillary object, ancillary layer object. And those are real objects that you can inspect using like introspection and GObject API. So it's a lot easier, it's a lot more consistent and a lot less weird cases that had to be handled manually, especially in language bindings. So yeah, we can have an example here. Do we do an example in C, Python, and XML, or straight XML? Let's go with straight XML. Instead of going through, yeah, most of the time you will end up writing XML anyway. Okay, where are you? So we're gonna start with a simple object, and then we're gonna go with double check. Yeah. So you can see in the example here, we are not gonna. Oh, it's missing an object here. The closing object tag. Awesome. But yeah, we are gonna do something like this. Instead of adding child as a widget, we're adding a GTK stack page as a child. Then we set the first page like name. And then we set the title, the name. The name of the page is what we use for the for switching programmatically. And the title is what we use for the switcher whenever we have to show this. So in theory, this one will be translatable as well. And then the child of the stack page is a widget, in this case a GTK label. Then we can do something like this. And then another child. The reason why I'm marking this as translatable, even though we haven't reached the topic of translatable widgets and translatable strings and localization and stuff, is that this should all go into an application development tutorial, and application should always be translatable. So since we want that, we should not we should not start with something that is not idiomatic to writing documentation, writing applications. Now we have to realign everything, because of course we do. Oh, so annoying. I'm wondering. I'm not gonna switch to that because it's way too new. But an interesting thing would be to look at the new syntax, the new DSL, like the domain-specific language that is called Blueprint. And okay, it's a small DSL that was written by James Westman to not replace GTK Builder, but to make it human writable. It's a neat little project. It's opinionated. Some of this stuff, it's not how I would write it at all. But at the very least, is a interesting prototype. It's an interesting approach. Instead of trying to change the XML and change the GTK to create a different serialization format deserialization format for UI definitions, let's use the XML as the generic format, and then let's add DSLs and different grammars on top that get turned into XML. And maybe at some point we will drop the XML and use our own DSL. But yeah, I'm not gonna start suggesting people to use this, especially not in official quote-unquote tutorial. Not because I don't like this. Not at all. It's because I don't know its state. I think, yeah, one of the things that kind of screwed us a little bit was committing to Vala a lot, like going all in on Vala before figuring out whether or not the language was sustainable. And by sustainable, I don't mean if it was good or not, but if it had enough resources behind it in terms of maintainer time, contributors, number of contributors, number of people reviewing patches and stuff. And instead we just committed ourselves to Vala, like, oh, it's cool, it's a new technology, it's not C, but it gets compiled into C, well, transpiled into C, and blah blah blah. And then we never actually spent time on making it work. I know that, for instance, elementary EOS, the elementary people are all in on Vala, and it's good because at the very least they have apart from a differentiation point, they also have a singular point of contribution, so they can say, okay, if something doesn't work for us, we can work on Vala and make it happen. But GNOME is a little bit different. I don't think we ever committed ourselves to an internal project. Yeah, we are, especially for the languages. The last time we did something like that was for Meson. But Meson or build system kind of replaced autotools. Vala did not replace anything. Everyone already had their own favorite language. It kind of replaced C, but it really didn't. Good luck trying to convince people writing in C to abandon it. Yeah. C warps the minds of our children and weakens the resolve of our allies. And you can clip that. But yeah, switching away from C was always a doomed endeavor. But trying to convince people that were already using like Python or Perl or whatever to switch to Vala was never gonna happen anyway. Whereas for Meson, we were replacing autotools, something that nobody ever liked. So as soon as we had a replacement that was capable of doing whatever autotools was doing, of course we jumped. There's something wrong with my Ubuntu installation, and sometimes the audio out just goes silent. It's like the interface gets powered down and I have to restart it. It's so weird. It's just the audio on my end. It's not even the audio in general. I can see the capture on OBS still working. So weird. I don't know if it's my sound card, if it's the external line that I have. It's just odd. Yeah, I'm gonna wait until I already have a new SSD and a bunch of other stuff that I have to install on my machine, but I want to do it after I give the presentation at LCA. Never do an upgrade before a presentation, especially one that has a tech check that happened last month. There's going to be another tech check like an hour before the presentation actually starts, but I never ever want to mess with a machine that is known to be working. After that, I will just destroy this stuff and install Silverblue and be a little bit more at home. But yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the code block here. Yeah, the code block is fine. It's just 2 pages. And it controls it. We can actually move this down and use it as an introduction to how to control so yeah, let's for instance go with a stack switcher. And we can do something like this. And that's it. we can even add a comment here. So we remove any ambiguity here. Okay. So okay. We can have a section about changing the visible page. You can change the visible page either with the page dot list page name, or using the child project one. In this case, we can use code examples. For instance, we get stack set visible child name. Oh, sorry about that. Oh. Sorry. Oh. Wow. Yeah, GDK stack. Beginning. Or like this, and in Python would be stack. Yeah. Another good section on SAP would be to the transition API. That you can define a transition by manipulation to animate. Yeah. Now you can set the transition type for all pages or for a specific one. Do something like this. It's not. Transition type. stack transition type, prospecting, for instance. Yeah, the example should probably go. No. Okay. So the end page using rotate left or rotate right? Let's see. Oh. 3D transition. Okay, let's go back. And then we do our code reporting in Python. Now it's not right equals gates, then transition. Okay. And this is a pretty trivial one. Then we should probably go Like for instance, there's the entire thing about pages, and then you get selection models and stuff like that. This one is probably going to be a useful method instead of an entire section. For instance, you know, if you get pages method will give you list all the pages. Or do we go for GTK selection model directly? You can use it. Change it. Observe pages. Remove. Selected. Yeah, it's not worth it having an entire section, otherwise the section would have to explain what is a glist model and what is the GTK selection model and how to use them to observe the state of a widget. Which, it's an interesting topic by in and of itself, to be completely fair. We have a lot of this new API that gives you models that you can then use for observing the state of a widget instead of connecting to notification signals or whatever else. You get the model and the model gets updated whenever you add or remove, and in case of GTK selection model you also get like if something changed inside if the selection has changed. So for instance, whenever the currently visible page of a stack changes, you get a selection change signal. And it will tell you which page has changed. But I feel that it's a complication. It's an interesting topic to be sure, but probably not for beginners. Yeah. It kind of requires you to adapt to a new... It's not a new programming model. As a programming model is like more than 20 years old. But you have to start thinking in terms of a model view controller pattern, and gets iffy if you're not, if you're just starting out. I feel a lot of people are going to be struggling if we start off the deep end. Like, yeah, it's all observable. You can just get a model and get notification of stuff that happens. And here we have people on the GTK IRC channel asking how signals work and how events work, and if everything is asynchronous, how do I block until I get a result from like a service or a process that I spawned. Just people are used to writing command line tools, and then when you get into UE, you get really the qualitative jump is pretty high. Oh, thanks for the follow, Felipe Unix. Okay. Yeah, we covered transitions, we covered useful methods. If we go for pages, yeah, we probably want to have a section on the pages. And probably we want it... let's put it at the bottom. 1, 2. Maybe used by other objects like big stacks like that. Like user readable cycle. It's a list an icon wherever the page is trying to page. Yeah. Recreate the page for given sorry, not for a given name, but for a given child. Stage image instant and given child stack using get method. We don't even need to have an example. It's literally just one call and then that's it. We should probably also add a stack and GDK stack. Even though we haven't used them. Well, we used one in an example, but okay, doke. Let's see. So we add source tutorial beginner stack. Yep. Before committing, we do a build locally. Okay. Okay. And then we push. The CI pipeline has just started. And yeah, after that, we are gonna go with a leaflet. So we go to components. It's going to be super easy, super simple, because a leaflet is just a container that behaves as a box or as a stack, depending on the size. So yeah, it doesn't have anything specific for us. It's literally, yeah, it doesn't require anything specific. It's like grids. It's just boxes that grow in two different directions. A leaflet is a box and a stack. So it has API that is the superset of boxes and stacks. Still, we want to add it so that people will find it. we go on the template again, it's going to be very small. Is it responsive? Behaves like yeah. I never remember how ref works. Okay. That should do it. There is enough space. Or everything stuff. With available is there is no interface guideline. We don't have any section. There are no useful, well, there are useful methods, of course, but yeah, code block. XML. And then we put leaflet here. Yeah, code block is going to be we need to get the leaflet page. Yeah, and then name and child. You're not gonna add an entire object definition because it's kind of boring. Also, unlike a stack, so for a stack we could add a simple label, but for a leaflet it's gonna be and then we should probably add a page. Okay. Actually, we should probably add it to the stack as well. It's mentioned directly inside the example. So we can do where else within your stack. Then fix up. And then we can add first in your leaflet. Let's see if my ref works. Seems to. No. Undefined label boxes. Maybe dot is fine. Hi, Goncalves Daniel. Thank you for the follow. Let's see if it blows up. Or maybe it's this. Yeah, restructured text can be very iffy. No. Yeah, seems to be working now. Now let's run commit, and then we are gonna see what happens when the pipeline terminates. The new pipeline terminates. Yeah, restructured text is, well, it's not just restructured text, it's Sphinx. There are a bunch of ways to do things, like links. And then Sphinx is supposed to handle the cross-referencing by itself. But there are a bunch of syntaxes there. They're all valid. But you never know if it's the syntax that works or not. Like for instance, I use ref elsewhere. But I have no idea how that works. Oh wow, it's taking so long. Huh. Yeah, no, it's gonna have to update. Oh, that reminds me that I keep saying that reminds me I need to upgrade the CI pipeline to use Fedora 35. I'll probably open a new merge request from the base, from the main branch instead of from this one, and then rebase this one. Otherwise, it's gonna be out of control. Well, at least I'm not using npm or anything npm based. Okay, seems to have succeeded. Let's see. Sometimes it updates itself, sometimes it doesn't. tutorials, beginners, components. Let's see. So yeah, we have stacks. Now the XML is there. It's a bit long. It's fine. And then we have the examples. I should probably do a new line there, so I don't have to scroll. Where is it? Stack. This one I can't do anything about it, but this one I can. Here's stack. And then we can fix up this. Yes, I want to reload the file. Thank you. And then we reopen up all the in-flight changes. But yeah, this one, it's fine. And these are the links. Okay. Then we switch to leaflets. Okay. Yes, the link works. Perfect. Yeah, in this case, it's very trivial, but it's worth mentioning it so that people can find it. That's kind of the important metric that we need to follow if it's something that people can find or not. So, should we go for list boxes? List boxes are interesting. Yeah, before doing a volume button, instead, we should probably do a scale. Or we can go for entries. Entries are interesting. There isn't much there. I'd like to finish the section on buttons. I should run a poll. I should run a poll whether or not which container which UI element should I do next. Would be an interesting one. Yeah. Or progress bar or level bar. Let's go with a level bar. It's a tiny little widget, and level bars are usually easy to deal with. Bar. Reload it. Let's go with level bars. I'll be the spinner. And we go on the template, copy everything. If I remember correctly, there is some feedback, probably. Yeah. Theme progress bar, no. Channel guidelines, no. No, we don't have anything about level bars. A level bar is not an actual progress bar. Oh, the theme that developer.gnome.org and interface guidelines use is the same. It's called Furo, F-U-R-O. It's a Sphinx theme, and it's very nice. It has a couple of tweaks from Yaku to make it look extra nice. But yeah, the base is the Furo theme. It's a really lovely theme, actually. I find it really nice, especially when coupled with the rest of the GNOME branding, so to speak, for websites. I really like the interaction. Like, if you go on the developer documentation, you start with this that is very circle, so very in line with the rest of our brand identity, and then you go into the documentation and you see it's very clean, very neat. I really like it. It's one of the reasons why we went with Sphinx. Not just because it's very easy to set up a documentation website, but also because it has already a lot of good, clean structure that is easy to style using your own branding. So I honestly like it. I honestly enjoy it a lot more than the old, the old website. Yeah. I mean, not to grief on stuff, but it's not great. It's not a great thing. Also, the new website, even though it doesn't have like a link to the actual a link to the actual Git repository yet, I still need to write that extension. It doesn't do this. Got a comment, spot an error, found instructions unclear, send feedback about this page, and this feedback is literally mail to docs-feedback@gnome.org, subject feedback on hig/338/application-basics.page. This is not how you do feedback. Thanks, Jeff Teixeira, for the follow. Yeah, One thing I want to do for the new website, for the developer documentation website, is actually add something like this, but instead of sending you an email, it will probably have like a smiley face and a frowny face, and you click it saying I liked it or I didn't like it, and then we can gather some metric about whether or not our documentation website is actually useful for people, because that is the main problem that we have. We have no feedback. Sorry, let me rephrase that in a little bit better. We have no actionable feedback, because we have feedback about the GNOME documentation. It's usually completely useless, because it is typically the GNOME developer documentation sucks. And it's like, yeah, why? I don't know. This is literally what happens. Why does it suck? I don't know. Okay, how can we fix it? I don't know. You do something. You figure it out. It's like, no. So I usually, what distribution do you use? I usually use Fedora Silverblue for development, because I enjoy not having my machine break on upgrades. And I also enjoy having slightly bleeding edge stuff. But currently I'm running on a Ubuntu 2110 because this is the base OS that I had on this desktop machine, which used to be my gaming desktop. And now I use it instead of my laptop, because it has a better GPU that I can use for streaming. My laptop is a Dell XPS from 2016, and the integrated Intel GPU was not working. I did a test and it wasn't enough. So I switched to the desktop machine, and desktop machine is more than enough, but it came with Ubuntu, and I'm not comfortable anymore on Ubuntu. I used to be a Debian user for years, and then a Ubuntu user again for years. Then I switched back to Debian, and then I switched to Fedora. And then Fedora Silverblue. I've never done distro hopping, even when I started. I hopped between distros, but usually it took me like almost a year to switch. Except for Slackware. When I started off, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I used Slackware. I started learning Linux on it. And then I switched to OpenSUSE, Mandrake, which was the previous name of Mandriva. And then Red Hat Linux, not RHEL, Red Hat Linux. Then Debian, then Ubuntu, when Ubuntu came out in 2004. Then I wasn't satisfied with Ubuntu anymore. I switched to Debian and then Fedora. Yeah, it's very comfortable. I'm pretty sure that my system will not crap out on me every time I do an upgrade. I install applications on using Flatpak. I do all my development inside Toolbox, which is what I actually miss a lot from Ubuntu. I don't want my development stuff to interact with my base OS. And also, I don't like the upgrade policy well, the update policy for the system, where everything gets updated while my system is running, and I have to reboot every time, because otherwise my system is going to be unstable until I reboot. At that point, why not do upgrades on reboot? It's fine. Yeah, I honestly understand. I've been using Linux for 24 years now. No, 25 years now, almost. And I still don't understand why people are so attached to the idea that you can upgrade while the system is running. Like, why? That's not how things work. That's bad. That's not a plus. It has never been a plus. I don't know. But Windows does it, so of course it's bad if Windows does it. It's not like Microsoft has tens of thousands of engineers working on this shit. They probably have smart people there, you know, just by sheer number. Anyway, so where were we? Level bars. Yeah. So a level bar is pretty dumb. It's not a complicated widget. It's definitely not a complicated widget. I can search. Yeah. So level bars are used as level equators. What instance? Signal strength, password. Now we can change this and do Yeah, I'm actually kind of puzzled to see that the HIG doesn't have anything about it. It should probably have. Yeah, I'll probably open an issue or ping Alan on the design channel to see if we have, or if the design team has a page or something about level bars. Oh, hello, BinoTDX. Oh, thank you, Georges, for sharing the live stream on the Brazil GNOME channel. Yeah, for those who have no idea who I am, I'm a GTK developer, and I'm also responsible for the new developer documentation website. And what I'm doing right now is writing the beginner's tutorial for GNOME applications, which is basically the intermediate step between the interface guidelines that you can see here, and the API reference that you can see here. So you can go on the developer documentation website, see the list of components that you have at your disposal, and then go into each page, see examples in different languages, interesting methods, useful methods, and then you get a link to the interface guidelines and the API references for the examples and stuff. Sorry about that. And ideally, this should help people that are newcomers to the GNOME platform to go from I have an idea for a UI, how it should look like, how should I implement it, and then from that point you can go and read the API reference and find additional functionality. This way we don't complicate the API reference by adding a ton of documentation there that is not going to be useful for everyone. And we also generate a single entry point for application developers, so they can go straight on the developer documentation website for GNOME, and from there on go everywhere else they need to. It's similar to how Elementary does it, Google does it for Android, Apple does it for their UI development kit, and things like that. And it's also one of the things that people complain about on social media and IRC/Matrix and everywhere else. And since we have a new spiffy new website for developer documentation, we should add new content that is not hopelessly out of date. Yeah, we were doing a section on level bars. Level bars are pretty trivial widgets that show a level. It's not a progress bar. It's something that shows levels that can be that have field levels, for instance. Like if you have a password, for instance, or a passphrase that is a low strength, then the threshold will be red, then the threshold will be yellow, and the threshold will be green after you pass it, for instance. So yeah, it's what the accessibility stack calls it a meter. And yeah, and also you can style it using CSS if you want to have different colors, which is pretty neat. And yeah, for instance, yeah, an example here in C. Let's see. Yep. How do we call them? Offsets. Yeah. Libadwaitas have thresholds at different offset. Each offset has a name and no, at different how do we call it? I have spelled Cool. So we do something like equal or new then GPK level set value and we do something like 0.25. Sorry, this one is going to be GTK level offset low. Then GTK level or volume. Let's see. Yeah, the name is a constant. Okay. Full and high. Instead of doing this, let's use an explicit string. Low, medium, 0, 75, and then this is this, and then we do something like or offset value. Okay. 0.75. Actually, it's gonna be like this. Low. Once you pass 50%, it's gonna be medium, and once you pass, instead of low, let's like 4. Good. Yeah. Like this would be a password strength indicator. If it's poor between 0 and 50%, and between 50 and 75% is medium, or let's say average. And after you pass 75%, it's good. And that's it. It's a pretty simple example. Let's document it and say 50% to 75% is average, and then 75% to 100%. It's good. And then we do the same thing in Python. Level, yeah. Oh, come on. 75%, 100%. And again, that's it. Yeah. I can invert it. A method, a useful method. Yeah. You can use the inverted method to make the level up from left to right. Sorry, right. Yeah, it's again, it's a very simple widget. It doesn't need anything more complicated than this. So I didn't use live, laugh, and love, and now I regret it. Now I'm regretting it. So I've, in other examples, whenever I had to deal with 3 choices, I always use leave, laugh, and love because it's funny. It's objectively funny to me. And now I regret it. Now, poor, average, and good. I regret using that. But in this case, it makes sense to have it like poor, average, and good. I'll use this, but I might come back off stream and fix it. It's not my fault. I honestly find it funny. Oh, yeah. I rebased earlier. I really need to. It is such a... I'm gonna regret this. I know I'm gonna regret this. But yeah, anyway. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm also waiting for a delivery. So I might have to I might have to pause the stream and run downstairs. Both my partner and I work from home, and they work from upstairs, from their home office, and I work from my own home office. But I usually hear people banging on the door a lot more than they do. see, documentation, tutorials, beginners, comments. Drop this. It's not linked. Why isn't it not linked? Did I not add it to the... Oh yeah, I didn't add it. I need to add it after spin. No, it's there. Didn't get saved. This is weird. Yeah, I'm an idiot. I added the template. That's what I added. Yeah. Okay, so let's do some. Do something like this. Source for beginners. Template. I want to commit template right now because it's a pain in the ass. Oh, well, yeah. What the hell is that? Oh, awful. Tabs. What are tabs doing in my perfectly aligned? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, let's move it out of the way. This one goes away, this one goes away, this one goes away. New pipeline. I did run the build locally, and that was a mistake. As usual.
Please don't forget me.
Yeah, the main problem with doing this is that sometimes you end up missing out pieces of the build. Luckily, the CI pipeline is not extremely slow. One way to make it faster is to create my own Docker image and then upload that, so I don't have to install stuff manually. But I'm running Ubuntu and I have no idea if Podman works on Ubuntu. I'd have to install Docker, and I don't want to install Docker. It is such a pain. Okay, components. Yes, level bar. Yeah, it's very simple, as I said. Perfect. Okay, so how are we doing here? in terms of,
Please don't forget.
there's already a fair chunk of useful stuff. I think, yeah, I think if I add the entry, I've covered the very fundamental stuff for a GTK application. Yeah, there are a bunch of other UI components that are useful. Well, all of them are useful. But I'd rather have this in sooner rather than later. So I think I can set the entry page as the threshold, after which I take the entire thing and shove it into a merge request and then merge it into the website. Because we already cover like toggle buttons, check buttons, radio buttons, switches, and a bunch of other like basic things, but we are not dealing, yeah, text entries are kind of a thing. In theory, text entry should also contain the, oh god, the text view. Text views are complicated. I mean, we have an entire we do have an entire tutorial on how to use them. Well, an overview. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah, somebody's, just 1 second. Sorry, delivery, as I was expecting. There's actually another delivery that I'm expecting, so I'll probably have to. Yeah, I'm gonna do the entry on Wednesday at this point, and the entry is gonna be the last bit before we do everything else. Oh, 1 second again. And we're back. Of course, deliveries at almost alpha 6 on a Monday while I'm streaming. Anyway, yeah, my main idea was to have the entry page on Wednesday, finish that up, then create a merge request to get the entire thing online. And yeah, that would be the beginning of the review process, getting feedback from other people, and then adding the screenshots for the UI element so that people can see what they're doing, not just read about it. So I can remove the old screenshots from 2012 that I imported from the old beginners tutorials. But yeah, okay. I think, yeah, this is a good place to end the stream today. So if you are still here, then you can join me on Wednesday, same time. It's usually 4 p.m. UTC. And we can continue that. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you should consider subscribing. Well, follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Vassi, to get notifications whenever I stream. And I usually stream about developer documentation, and I also stream about development and maintenance of GTK and other libraries. I'm probably gonna start streaming about playing old DOS games, because DOS and Windows games, Windows 3.1. I acquired a copy of Castle of the Winds, which is an old roguelike game for Windows 3.1 that I used to play back in the day, and I want to play on stream because it's fun. I'm also planning to play 4X games like Master of Orion 2, which is an incredibly bad idea for me, because every time I start playing with those, I usually end up playing for 4 hours without noticing that the time has passed. Then it's 4 or 5 in the morning, and I realize what the hell I've been playing all this time. But yeah, that usually comes in the evening or during the weekend, because I only have time there. Otherwise, if you want to just follow me for GNOME content, feel free to do so. And you can also follow me on Twitter or Mastodon. My Twitter account is currently private because I don't want the aggravation. But if you send me a follow request, I will usually see it. Having said that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I shall see you on Wednesday. Bye.